welcome everyone to episode 7 of Paperboy Ventures. We got a special one today as we welcome longtime CPG entrepreneur Ari Raz to the pod. Ari is the current CEO of a fascinating new brand called the Coconut Cult, and he's the former co-founder and CEO of Once Upon a Farm. Ari, thrilled to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kyle. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, and I'm very pumped about this conversation today. I think what you're doing is so unique and interesting. So, love to spend the next 30 or so minutes just talking about the Coconut Cult and everything that you're up to. But let's get started with the simplest of questions. What does Coconut Cult do?
That is the simple question. So Coconut Cult is a manufacturer. So we make a very probiotic coconut yogurt that is available in the natural channel, about over almost 1,900 stores today, as well as direct through our website. So our yogurt is very unique. 1 to 2 spoonfuls a day is really our recommended serving, because each ounce contains about 50 billion CFUs of gut colonizing probiotics across 16 medical grade probiotic strains. So unlike other yogurts where you might consume, 4 to 6 ounces in a serving, our yogurt is really meant to be eaten almost as a supplement, rather than your typical yogurt, because it really will impact your regularity. It'll impact your digestion. It also is good for inflammation in the body, and it does impact immunity because some of the strains that we've selected have been proven to increase your immunity to disease. So there's a lot of really great functional benefits that come out of eating our yogurt on a daily basis, and that is how most of our customers eat it. Another note I'll mention is that we have one no sugar added original flavor, which is very tart and can be used almost like a sour cream replacement, or for people who like really tart plain yogurt, you can eat that straight if that's your preference. But most of our yogurts are actually very decadent and creamy, and make great substitutions for dessert. So a lot of people who eat our chocolate mousse or our strawberry harvest, for example, will dig right into the jar with a spoon and go for that, 1 to 2 spoonfuls a day, almost as a replacement for that like little spoonful of ice cream you'd get.
Right. Yeah, and who do we have joining us here? I see
Oh
somebody
yeah,
coming
this
on
is
camera.
my co-founder, Leo. Leo, do you want to say hello? Not really. Are you nervous? Okay. Yeah, he's ready to taste test upon a moment's notice. He's
Excellent.
really in charge of our R&D mostly.
Yeah, it makes sense. Well, love that. So, okay, as far as what you're building over there, the key differentiating factors, well, you start with yogurt, right? Like that's the category. Your coconut based is one layer, and then below that, your probiotic and prebiotic.
Yes.
Correct? So it's essentially like a supplement version of the yogurt category. You're building that.
Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about that supplement piece, because most people who think about taking probiotics as a supplement will go to the store and buy a jar of probiotic capsules. When you buy those probiotic capsules, you're getting a freeze-dried powder, which contains the strains of the probiotics. So those probiotics are basically put into like stasis. They're not alive in that capsule. So then you need to swallow that pill. It needs to go into your system. Then the freeze-dried probiotics, those bacteria, need to wake up inside your gut and start doing their thing, right? Well, the problem with that is twofold. One is when you take a freeze-dried powder, before those bacteria can even wake up and start colonizing your gut and improving your gut health and digestion, your stomach acid will actually destroy a great deal of those freeze-dried probiotics right off the bat. Then the secondary challenge is those bacteria need something to eat. So if your gut isn't primed with the right food or prebiotics for those bacteria to grow and multiply, you're also not really getting the benefit of those capsules. So the advantage, right, of eating a fermented food that is already alive is you're basically getting a prebiotic, because coconut is a prebiotic, and a prebiotic you can think of as food for the probiotics, right? So the probiotics and the prebiotics are living together in harmony in our jars, so that when you digest and swallow that yogurt, right, and it's going down into your system, the fat from the coconut protects the probiotics, the bacteria, from getting destroyed by your gut, by your stomach acid. So they're protected. They're also able to feed on all the fibers and the sugars inside the coconut itself to then start colonizing and doing their thing. So it's just a far more impactful way to get your probiotics than taking a probiotic pill. The other difference between our yogurt and most other yogurts on the market is about 90% of yogurts on the market today are heat pasteurized after fermentation. So dairy yogurt really in America has very, very little live active cultures. And in fact, the standard for live active cultures in the US compared to Europe is about 10% of what it is in Europe. So our standard for what we consider live and active culture yogurt is really so slim that you're not really getting any gut health benefit from eating most yogurts. I mean, pretty much all dairy yogurts, most plant-based yogurts as well. It's one of the reasons why we self-manufacture all of our yogurt, because we're able to ferment the yogurt and then seal the jar and put it on a shelf. We don't do any heat pasteurization. Fermentation is the step that keeps it safe, reduces the pH to levels that will be appropriate for distribution and market, but also making sure that it has an incredibly high level of probiotics compared to pretty much anything else out there.
Got it. So we got pretty scientific fairly fast here, and I know sometimes it gets confusing. Prebiotics, probiotics, everything that's going on. It's a word that's becoming words that are becoming more common in
Yep.
today's products. When you talk about live versus dead, that makes sense, and the pasteurization is killing a lot of what can impact your gut in a positive way. I'm looking at the ingredients of what you have, and I'm just going to read them out because I think this is fascinating. 4 ingredients in the original: organic coconut cream, organic coconut meat, organic coconut water, and then a custom probiotic blend. So you're mentioning you have both pre and probiotics in here. Obviously, the blend is the probiotic portion. So the pre is contained in the coconut ingredients. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. And then because you never run any pasteurization and you keep all of those cultures live, the efficacy is increased. And what
Yes.
kind of impact does that have on somebody's health?
Well, we haven't done any clinical trials to be able to state this with absolute certainty. But what I can tell you from the thousands and thousands of customers that we've reached and testimonials we've received, we are, for many people, the most impactful probiotic that they've ever taken. So imagine people with digestive challenges, regularity challenges. You have constant constipation, or you have irritable bowel syndrome. You have a number of issues. Celiac. People with celiac really find that our yogurt helps improve that condition as well. I'm trying to think of other things, but really it gets down to, I think, the most important element is just, as a customer, the first thing you'll notice when you start eating our yogurt is within a few days, there's no better way to say it, you will have smoother moves than you've ever had it before in probably your life. And
Yeah.
but you will, but that's just step one, right? Like, people don't realize how connected your gut is to every other part of your body, your immunity, your cardiovascular health, your mental health. It's not just about regularity, right? That's just one kind of very visceral outcome, but there are so many other benefits that come with making sure that you have a healthy gut with the right level of good bacteria in your system at all times.
Yeah, it's a fascinating trend. I think we see gut health getting bigger and bigger every year, really, in the food industry, and it does. I have some sense that people are beginning to wake up to the impacts that it can have on overall human health. So, from a trend perspective, feels to be spot on. And you look at other products that have really blown up lately in other categories, like look at beverage and Olipop and
Hmm.
Poppy and kombucha before that.
That's right.
Uh, did you see that as sort of an inspiration for what you're building here? How did that kind of play
Sure.
into what Coconut Cult's doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So the the yeah, I mean, first of all, the coconut cult is not at it's not it didn't start very, very recently. It actually was launched in 2018. The original yogurt formulation was made by the founder Noah Simon Waddell, who is the face of our brand. He's all over our Instagram and TikTok profiles. He is the one who again had gut issues, had inflammation in his body, and he was trying to solve those issues through changing his diet. The most impactful food for him was this creation of his, which was basically to take a very high end probiotic capsule, mix it into a coconut yogurt base, and ferment that and create what became our original yogurt. So it really started off as an individual solving their own issue. And it just so happens, right, that over the course of time, this issue is not just impacting him, it's impacting millions and millions of people across the country. And those challenges are actually increasing, right? You're seeing a rise of IBS, you're seeing a rise of people with constipation and all kinds of, I mean, celiac. You look across the board, there's a lot of immunity and immunodeficient issues that are spreading, and it's hitting a younger generation than ever before, which is very interesting. So you are starting to see a shift where fiber, right, is starting to become sort of a hot buzzword for Generation Z. And this idea of, you know, eating food specifically to develop a healthy gut because they are doing the research. They're starting to realize that, all these deficiencies they have from probably, I mean, who knows what they ate growing up, or what led, what's in the water, who knows what's leading to this sort of issue developing among younger generations, but they are more aware of it than ever. So yeah, I mean, gut health, searches for gut health on Google are on the rise. You go on TikTok and you search IBS, or you search gut health, or you search digestion, you see a lot of content from people that are, and they're being very descriptive, more so than probably previous generations would have when talking about these issues. So that has led, right, to an increase and a proliferation of gut health focused brands such as Olipop, such as Poppy. There's a bar out there as well, I know of, and I'm sure many other products to come. But yogurt was the original probiotic. It was the original thing that was made by humans to basically improve digestion. So our goal as a company, right, is we want to take yogurt back to the roots. We want to give it its place to shine in your fridge as was its original intended purpose, to be the thing that you take for your digestion. And that's what I think people are resonating with, and that's what we are continuing. That's a story that we continue to tell. And of course, the more we tell it, we're finding, especially with Gen Z, but you know, we started off really with that sort of 35 to 45-year-old crowd, but we're now hitting a whole new market with younger people who additionally, more and more are familiar and aware of these issues, and want to improve their gut health as well.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. But as far as the product is supposed to be used, I understand it's a small recommended serving size.
Yeah,
Is that to begin? Can you talk about
sure.
the way to properly use the product?
So we see the coconut cult as a daily ritual, something that, you either take by itself, like I mentioned earlier, almost as a dessert at the end of the day, or you eat it in the morning. But you can people put it in smoothies, people put it in, people mix it into their other yogurts, right? To like give their yogurts a probiotic boost. There's all kinds of great use cases for the yogurt itself. But the point is that yes, we do recommend starting with 1 to 2 spoonfuls a day. So we say a serving size is 1 ounce. Now, for me personally, I eat 1 ounce a day. Usually, sometimes I'll go up to two, but I find that that's plenty for me. But we have customers who will go through a full 8 ounce jar a day, right? So I think it's really, there's no limitation as long as your gut can handle it, right? So you kind of need to, I would say start small, but then increase your amount as you get used to it and as the yogurt starts to do its thing. Um, yeah, if you really just are in love with the flavor, and you are, especially for people who, you know, one thing for sure, I can tell you is that a lot of our customers really value the higher fat content in our yogurts, and that is a nutrient that, and this could honestly be a reason why so many kids who grew up in the 90s are having all these issues today. Fat free was the thing, right? Everybody was eating low fat this, low fat that. Go on, stay away from fat because fat will make you fat, right? That was the whole thing. And we now realize, wait a minute, fat's actually an essential nutrient that is incredibly good for us. That, if we don't get enough of it, we're actually doing damage to our body. We're doing damage to our brain. We're doing damage to our organs. It's carbs and sugar we need to be a little bit more mindful of more than anything. For people who really understand that, and they see, oh my gosh, this is like a really high quality source of good fat, like, it's that medium chain triglyceride fat that you want. That's coconut fat. They're happy to eat 4 to 8 ounces of it a day to really make sure they're getting a really healthy, good source of fat in their system that, in a way that's very enjoyable for them on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's a great point on the good fats and the bad fats, and it's another piece of information I think that many people are starting to understand quite a bit better. And as far as the product itself, I understand you do your own self-manufacturing. Would love to hear a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
about that. I'd say that's fairly rare for a consumer goods startup. Most will use co-manufacturers. So
Yes.
what went into that decision? How does that sort of help Coconut Cult?
Sure. So originally the company decided to self-manufacture because of two main reasons. One, um, our jars from the very beginning have always been packed in glass. So we pack all of our yogurt in 16 or 8 ounce glass jars, and very few co-packers were even willing to work with glass. So that was a non-starter. The second reason why we don't work with co-packers is that pasteurization point. So all the co-packers we spoke to said, yeah, we can make your product, but we have to make it our way. So we're going to pasteurize it. We can sprinkle in some probiotics at the end of after pasteurization, but that doesn't really do anything. So we didn't want to do that either. We wanted to make a product that was true to the founder's mission, right? And the way that he made the yogurt. So the only way that that could be done was by operating out of our own facility. And we're on our third facility now. So we started off in a 500 square foot warehouse, moved to a 15,000 square foot facility, originally in San Luis Obispo, California. And then we opened up our current facility, which is in Ogden, Utah. So we have a 55,000 square foot facility in Ogden, Utah that we operate out of today. And again, as we've grown, we've needed the space to build in capacity and introduce, as we want to introduce more flavors to market, right? We just need the additional kitchen space for our teams to maneuver around all the equipment and things like that. So it's been a real win, honestly, upgrading to that newer facility, and that actually opened for business last year in August. So it's still relatively new for us, but we're very excited to be operating out.
Congrats on all the growth and to be on your third facility at this point with I imagine quite a bit of room for growth in that facility. So
Correct.
you mentioned and we'll get to the retail traction in a minute here. you're close to 2,000 stores today.
Mhm.
Is this 55,000 square feet? Is that a facility you can be in for the next few years?
Oh yeah.
How do you see that? What's the
Yeah.
capacity look
So
like?
this facility is, it's really scalable. We are planning to, just in this facility alone, scale to about, I would say, the current plan has us hitting about $7.5 million a month in just yogurt out of this one facility. The good thing about where we are in Ogden, Utah is we have this 155,000 square foot facility, but we're in a district that's full of buildings just like ours. So we'll be able to expand by basically, signing a lease for another 55,000 square foot facility that'll be mirrored to ours. And then basically at that point, the ability for us to continue to expand becomes a lot easier, a lot simpler, because once we've, gone to full capacity in building one, going to building two is going to be a breeze compared to what it took to get building one to full capacity.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're in your long-term home, and
Yeah.
you've got quite a bit of runway. If you do need to expand past that number, then you can just do it next door.
Yep. Basically.
Yeah, well, good stuff. It's nice to. I know it's a lot of extra work, and I'm sure you're feeling that, but with that comes quite a bit of extra control and probably a good bit of profit margin as well. So nicely done.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as far as the retail traction
Mhm.
and how that's grown, since the brand started
Yeah.
in 20, would love to hear how that's going and what you're looking forward to this year.
Sure. Retail's been really, I think, a shining point for us since we've opened up our 55,000 square foot facility. So, one of the challenges that we had to really scaling and growing this business has been capacity. We had to open up Utah out of a need for, I mean, yeah, because we hit capacity out of San Luis Obispo. So it really, throughout the first 8 months of 2023, our capacity was very limiting. We couldn't grow. We actually couldn't even fulfill orders fully for months, and it was a really tough time for me personally, because as CEO, you always want to push growth, you always want to expand sales, and because of this limitation on manufacturing capacity, we couldn't, and that was really rough. Oh, there's my co-founder again. So the great the so it was tough, but we made it through. We're finally at this stage now where we can start scaling growth again out of Utah, and it's really showing up in the data. So the more that we can manufacture and the more we produce, the higher our sales go. Absolutely, because our biggest challenge to growth, we're simply hitting 100% fill rates at the stores. But when you look at our retail data, whether it's in Whole Foods launching nationally in late January, or in Sprouts, where we have gone from, we launched in January of 23 with 2 items in Sprouts nationally, and we, as of last month, went up to 6 items, created a 6 item set in Sprouts. So, those sort of moves, I think, have really just started to build the traction for this brand, build massive amounts of awareness as sets continue to increase and we get more flavors to market. So in my opinion, we're really still in the very early days of our potential traction just within our own sort of scope of like where we are, like the stores we're in, which is, again, as I mentioned, about 1,900 stores, closer to, edging it close to two, but with a low average SKU count of about two and a half SKUs per store. And that's, again, not by design, but really just by the fact that we were limited. So now that we're able to manufacture more, we can manufacture more flavors. We're really starting to bring more and more flavors to market. And that alone, right, has a massive impact on our opportunity and our sales. So as an example, at Sprouts, just going from a 2 item set to a 3 item set alone before we went to 6, that doubled our sales on a weekly basis, right? Just because you're getting that extra bit of like space to like for somebody to see your product and to notice it. So there's a lot of opportunity like that. And another thing that we're doing that we're really excited about to continue to push retail velocities on shelf is, you know, for those of you who've seen our jars on shelf, you might notice that there's a very prominent pink flamingo on the jars right in the center of the label. Well, starting in mid-May, we're actually doing a full brand refresh across all of our core retail jars. So our original, our chocolate mousse, our strawberry are all going to be essentially not rebranded, but refreshed, you could say, with a completely different look and style that emphasizes the flavor, emphasizes the name Coconut Cult. It's really a beautiful refresh that is still very like different compared to what you normally see on the yogurt shelf, but in such a more powerful way than our current branding. It will attract the eye and it will stand out quite a bit more because there's more dimensionality to this new label compared to what we currently have. So we're also excited to see how that will impact our velocities on shelf, will impact our awareness, and impact our trial as well.
Yeah, I'm smiling because you don't see the word cult on, I don't know, any other product in the grocery store.
Sure.
So that's one way to stand out. And of course, there's going to be a contingent of people that don't like it, but that's fine. That's part
Mm-hmm.
of building a household brand. So so props to you on that. Last question on your go to market here. So with how differentiated the product is, and with the, I guess, a little bit of education required on how to use it, are you thinking of really focusing, doubling down on natural grocery, or is this something that you think can live in conventional grocery and other channels after
Mm-hmm.
you maximize the natural side? What's the thought there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we definitely have a lot more to build in the natural side because, again, as I mentioned, with an average of 2.5 items per store, realistically, if you think about a yogurt brand that makes flavors, right, you'd expect to see, 6, 7, 8 items just from that, just on that shelf, right? So there's just a lot of opportunity to expand in our current sort of set of stores, and of course grow within that like natural specialty channel that we're really rocking and rolling in currently. But yeah, of course, we have our eye on future growth. We have our eye on, how do we get from natural, specialty, independent to mass conventional club? Because there's obviously a lot more growth and a lot more opportunity out there for brands that can build a bridge to those channels in a meaningful way. The way that we're approaching this is we're actually working on an innovation that is going to launch. We're doing a soft launch in October. And this innovation is going to be the thing that, you know, is going to take us out of just being in the natural channel and into the conventional and into the mass and into the club channels. It's going to be sort of our foray into that world, but it's not going to end at that innovation because if you think about a brand like Chobani, right, which has done such an incredible job at, holding on to this sort of premium identity and this credibility as a yogurt brand while building out, I mean, look at your average Chobani set. You know how many items they have in there, and there's so much differentiation within what they make. So you can think of us going in the same direction, thinking about, okay, we make a great like core product. We make a phenomenal core product, arguably, better than Chobani, right? Because we're not using ingredients like natural flavors, right? We use like real fruit powders and things like that. So, okay, you're making a really amazing tasting premium product that people love. Okay, well, can we make it into all these different formats? Can we add some other functionality? Can we, how else can we innovate within that framework to create products that are going to be uniquely Coconut Cult, uniquely, I would say, clean label, but also at bring them to market at a price point that will be very appealing to the mass and the conventional and the club consumer, while still making a strong gross margin on our side, right? So that is the next sort of iteration of where we're going and what we're building. And again, we already have our first iteration, which is incredible, and I'm very excited to bring it to market, locked in, launching in October. So we're going to slow play it a bit, but we definitely have a very big vision for where we're headed in that sense.
Well, it's fascinating stuff to, especially to hear the scale potential in the more, I guess, traditional retail channels, and it does feel like it all comes down to accessibility and getting it in the hands of people that shop all across the country. So look forward to hearing and seeing the innovation, and maybe we bring it back for an update in season two of Paperboy Ventures.
I
But
can't wait.
yeah, just to wrap things up, Ari, I really enjoyed the chat. Would love to hear your perspective on the potential future of the brand. Where do you see this thing going in, say, 5 years?
It's a great question. We started, we started this brand with a vision, and you could say a dream, right? To basically become as big as any large dairy yogurt brand in the country. Since day one, we've always been compared to plant-based yogurt, which is arguably a good category. It's about a $600 million category in total US MULO. Not a bad category to play in. But when you compare it to $8 billion dairy yogurt category, you can see the opportunity, right? And our vision and our dream is we have customers who aren't buying our yogurt because they're plant-based. Our customers are buying our yogurt because they believe it to be the best tasting yogurt on the market, bar none. The creamiest, the one that gives them the most pleasure. They enjoy the clean label. They enjoy, and of course, the probiotics and the gut health benefits come in there too. But primarily, they just believe us to have the best tasting yogurt, period, across dairy and non-dairy. And there are very few yogurt brands. I mean, there's maybe one yogurt brand today that's non-dairy that is more well distributed than us, that is somewhat crossing that barrier. But I think that we can come in and do that in a very big way, where we're not making any dairy yogurt at all. We're very clear about being a coconut yogurt, but we are attracting a good portion of dairy yogurt customers to buy our products instead of the alternatives, simply because they are better products. They taste better, they're better for your body, and they're cleaner label. So with that, what's my 5-year vision? I could give you a number, right? Oh, I want to be a 100 million plus brand. Okay, well, yeah, sure. But my vision is I want to see full shelves of Coconut Cult products across every Target, across every, most Krogers. I wouldn't say every Kroger. I wouldn't say every Target either. But all of, that the top 1,000 Targets, the top 2,000 Krogers, probably the top 600 Publix, wherever it makes sense, that we would have full shelves of Coconut Cult products that are differentiated, that meet consumers in different ways, and really bring in a lot of that dairy yogurt customer and that non-dairy yogurt customer. But they're buying us, again, not because they don't eat dairy. They're buying us because we're the best product for their needs, and we're the best product on the shelf. So that is my vision, and that is where we're headed.
Amazing. Well, can't wait to follow the journey. Really appreciate the time and the conversation today, Ari. So
Thank
thank
you.
you very much for joining, and we'll be rooting for you.
Thank you so much, Kyle. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you.